My guest today is Kristel Kruustük. Kristel is the Chief Testing Officer and co-founder of Testlio, a global QA testing platform with more than 10,000 freelance testers serving clients like Microsoft, American Express, CBS, and the NBA. Prior to co-founding Testlio, Kristel studied software development and was a QA tester in London and Estonia, where she is from. Kristel, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Etienne. Thank you so much for having me today.
It's great to have you here. So as I mentioned, so you study programming in Estonia. You also work in testing in Estonia and London before Testlio. So what attracted you initially to quality assurance testing?
Well, the story with a lot of testers is that a lot of testers get into testing by accident because it's not something that you get taught in school. And so what happened to me back in 2008 when I graduated high school was that I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And eventually, because of my sister's influence, I went to study IT and I went to study programming. And during my second year in college, I wanted to have a job, but I didn't have too much experience with programming. So a lot of my college buddies were kind of telling me that, hey, Kristel, testing is an easy thing to do. So why not start as a tester? And so I found myself in a company that developed different web applications for the biggest travel companies in Estonia. I started testing the products. And then eventually my interest in testing grew. And I moved on to a bigger company in Estonia, where I stayed for another year until I graduated college in Estonia. And that's where I realized that I want to build a career in software testing, and I want to become the best at it.
Well, let's talk about that. So your goal, you mentioned in a different interview, and I heard you talk about this. So your goal was to become the best tester that you could be. So
yes,
how did you go about improving and expanding your skill set in the early days of your career?
So one of my mindsets since the beginning was to also we only get better when we practice, right? So after I graduated university in Estonia, I told my then boyfriend, now husband, and now also my co-founder Marco that let's move away from Estonia and let's experience life in a different world. And my sister has always been a huge inspiration for me because she was able to also build an international career for herself, coming from a little tiny town in Estonia. And so she kind of kept pushing me to be more in life and experience life more in different countries and levels and so on. And so anyways, my husband and I, we moved to San Francisco, where we stayed for 2 weeks because we didn't like it. And then eventually we decided to move to London because we had both been there, and it was quite close to Estonia as well. And so we thought that, we can travel back home and meet our friends and family. That didn't happen, but more of that later maybe. But then, we went to live in London. And in London, I found a full-time job again. And I was just so passionate about software testing that I started looking for additional opportunities to improve my skills. And one way to do that was to obviously meet with other experts and other industry leaders. And then I also knew that practice makes it perfect, right? So for example, I built a website for myself, and also I put an ad, a paper ad on a co-working space in London. And it said I hunt for bugs in your software. And I actually got a customer, a startup that was just got some funding, and it was just a really exciting project to work on next to my full-time job, because I also got a full-time job in London. And then eventually that was the first time where the gig economy kind of started taking off, and there were a couple of platforms, software platforms for software testers, that connected these testers globally with different companies that needed testing. And to me, I fell in love with the idea of these testing platforms immediately, because I saw such a huge opportunity First of all, learning from a global network of other testers, getting to test different projects, seeing what types of issues they report, or like just seeing how they organize and structure their work. And I became quite active on different crowd testing platforms.
Okay.
And yeah, eventually I was just super frustrated and I had to start Testlio.
So you were doing software testing in your work. You were doing software testing as well as projects and consulting on the side.
Exactly.
So
because back then I had it was just me and I didn't have any other commitments. Now I have kids. Life has changed quite a bit. But back then I was just like all in. How can I become better? And now I believe that we have become better because we have this global network of testers today at Testlio.
Let's talk about that. So like when was the first time that you started thinking, well, so maybe there's an opportunity here, or maybe there's something that could be done better in terms of these testing communities?
Yeah, so the idea of Testlio was born out of my frustration, like very clear frustration, because of the experience I had as a software tester in these different crowd testing platforms. Like, as I mentioned to you earlier, like at first, I just loved the idea that as a tester, I could sign up to this website, I get connected with these global companies, I can find bugs, like how awesome is that? But after a couple of months, I was just frustrated because I felt I wasn't valued. So first of all, the main kind of reason for me was that all of the testers were paid per issue, which meant that testers were not really incentivized to dig deep into the product and figure out like what the real issues are. Like everybody like had their low-hanging fruits and they never had this like kind of motivation to stay on the product on like for longer and figure out like what the real frustration for the end customer was. And between the testers, because of the pay per bug model, the testers were not incentive, like they didn't want to work together. Like everybody, like it was a competition, but to me, quality is everybody's responsibility. And the teams should be able to collaborate in order to deliver the best results. And that's where I kind of felt that I have this problem. And when I started talking with my friends who were also testers, they confirmed with me that, yes, I felt the same way. I didn't feel valued. And I felt like this is just a competition and it's not healthy for the quality of the product or for the team. And that's where I went to, or I signed up to a hackathon. And a hackathon and the reason why I knew about hackathons was because Estonia is like the country of startups.
Yes,
and
more and more.
I had participated in one hackathon or two hackathons back in Estonia. And to me, it seemed like a great opportunity to just present my idea and build a prototype within a very short amount of time and get feedback. So very lean approach.
Yeah. So at this point, you had a sense that creating a platform could make sense. So what convinced you and your husband, your co-founder, that there would be an opportunity there, that there would be an opportunity for another platform?
What convinced us that there is a room for another platform?
Yeah, what convinced you like to take the plunge in this opportunity?
Yeah, so first of all, I was supposed to go to the hackathon alone because my husband was building another startup at the same time, and he had been like an entrepreneur for like the past 10 years. But then eventually he just saw so much all of that passion that I had, and he was like, okay, I'm going to join you. And so we signed up to this hackathon called Angel Hack, and Angel Hack London had like 300 people signed up, and out of 64 ideas, we were selected as one of the winners.
Okay.
And that kind of gave us the confidence that, okay, we can pursue this further. And eventually we won the Global Hackathon Series in San Francisco and got $25,000 as an investment. And so that gave us the confidence that, hey, we should pursue this full time, because we got so much positive feedback. First of all, from the testers that I was in contact with, the testers that I had like built relationships with. And also we started getting interest from customers. So our first customer was actually a customer of our competitor, like one of the biggest competitors. And they loved the idea of Testlio, which was to provide great quality testers. And yeah, that's all that mattered to them.
So what convinced them initially that to make the move from a competitor to Testlio? Like what were the elements that convinced them that this was the platform for them?
So they were, if I remember correctly, they had already ended their relationship with this competitor, but they were looking to hire a full-time in-house QA to take care of the testing of these products. It was a mobile agency, so they were building apps for like BBC and Coca-Cola, so it was like huge. And then we got introduced to them through a mentor that we met during the Angel Hack finals. So as you start, yeah, exactly. Like as you are an entrepreneur, you need to connect with as much people as possible to get things off the ground. And then basically we just pitched our idea of Testlio because still the company saw the benefit of like, hey, I can use these burstable teams almost like before the release. I can get more testers to test my app on different locations, different devices, and it just creates so much more value for the companies that want to deliver excellent quality. So it just made sense for them instead of like hiring an internal QA and yeah, just worrying about if they can get that full coverage and if they can deliver all of their products in time.
Okay.
And so today we really work as partners with the companies that we work with. So we are partners for internal QA teams where we really offer this burstable kind of service during the releases as well. So you can get a team of testers in different locations, different devices, like speaking different languages in the times that you need them the most.
So the relationship is even closer than it was initially. Oh, that's great. Yes. Okay. Exactly. So you had a lot of momentum at that point. So you had won the competition. You had your first customer. You had a little bit of money. So how did you guys make sure that you were building the right product or the right platform behind this? Like, how did you get to that point where you were able to iterate and get to the right platform?
For us, it was always about listening to the customer, and the customer for us was first of all the tester, because they were the ones testing on the platform that we had built for the testers. And then also on the other side, we had the customers, right? Like the customers had the needs, either they wanted to have faster releases or faster release cycles, like they had their needs. So we were listening to their needs and basically built Testlio based on that. And like in the early days, we didn't have like this like crazy demand immediately where we had like 100 companies signing up or anything, right? Like we had the opportunity to work with a small amount of customers and really listen to them and build the product based on their requirements and based on these conditions. And then I also remember that our business model changed quite a bit during this first year of being in business. So first of all, we started with this project basis like service where we had smaller startups, like they had, I don't know, they wanted to test their app on like iPhone 10. Well, back then it was iPhone 4.
One of the first iPhones.
They wanted to test their app on different iPhone 4s, on different operating systems. And then, but then we realized that we can't build like a sustainable business model. Like we have to be able to predict our revenue because we need to hire people based on that. And we can't just be so what's the word that I'm looking for? Unpredictable, right?
Okay. So more predictability.
Yeah. So we wanted to build more predictability. And then we met thanks to a T-shirt that one of our friends was wearing in San Francisco. We landed an awesome customer. This customer had been like selling like 2 of his companies, like had very successful exits, and he was building another company then. and he just wanted to use Testlio. And he said that I want to pay you a monthly subscription, and that's what I want to get for that monthly subscription. And we built our business model around his needs because he was so influential that we were like, okay, we should listen to this guy. And eventually this company was sold to Microsoft for 150 million within 1.5 years. And that's how we got Microsoft as one of our customers. So
and a pretty good case study.
So yeah, you just need to listen to your customers, and eventually that's what you're going to get. That's how you're going to get. But it's interesting that I think it was Steve Jobs who used to say that customers oftentimes don't know what they want. So, and I think at points it's true, but there is some truth. You have to keep your ears open and still listen to your customers, but be aiming to build something more than they expect.
Yeah. Well, I'm sensing that from the story. There's a lot of great serendipity or probably luck that's kind of engineered at the same time, because you're mentioning there that there's a T-shirt that led you to
Oh my god, yeah, these are the stories that you as a founder, you find these inexpensive ways to market or to advertise your company. So I just recently shared the story on my Instagram as well. So I've been sharing these stories for a year now of building my company, and I'm very active there. And Sarah Blakely was also one of the ones. Sarah Blakely is the founder of Spanx. It's a very big company, and they built. I hope you're not hearing my kid cry behind the scenes.
It's okay.
Yeah. But anyways, Sarah Blakely built a $1 billion business, and in the early years, she's constantly saying the story how she wore the Spanx T-shirt for 5 years. So because she thought that she has to just find more inexpensive ways to find customers for her product, and if somebody is already interested in what this word Spanx means on her T-shirt, then there will be more and more of these people.
So creating the momentum.
Yeah, creating the momentum. And yeah, often now, obviously the market has changed quite a bit. I feel like there's more money available. Back in 2013, when we just started with Testlio, nobody believed in us, right? Luckily, we won Angel Hack. We also got into Techstars accelerator program, which was also very impactful for the future of Testlio. So that's where we met the future CEO of Testlio. So we've had Steve Semmelsberger, our CEO with Testlio for the past 3 years, and Steve was one of the first investors at Testlio, as well as he was an advisor and helping us to find our first people in the US. And so it's a crazy story, but it's super awesome. And yeah.
Well, let's dig into this. So there's a few times that I heard in talks that you were mentioning that initially the first couple of years were very difficult. So you're dealing with rejection. There are people that are doubting the model. There is negative feedback. So having gone through the experience yourself, how would you recommend that founders approach the first few years? How can they build the same kind of resilience that you guys built?
It all comes down to your support network. And for me, it's always been Marco, Marco, who is my co-founder. And obviously now that we have a bigger team, we can just rely on each other and get support from each other during these tougher times. And so we just lean on each other and ask for help and also get that help when we need it. But going back to the early days, I so clearly remember that I never intended to become an entrepreneur. My goal was to become the best tester in the world. But as I was just so passionate about the industry and seeing a huge problem that wasn't being solved, I just had to become an entrepreneur. And when we went to Techstars, I remember we met 90 different mentors and advisors, and some loved the idea and some hated the idea. And I cried myself to sleep during these days. And then Marco, who had been building companies for the past 10 years and never had that type of success that we already were having with Testlio, he was like, it's fine. Don't worry, we're doing great, because we have these companies that are already believing in us and these testers that are just so excited about the Testlio concept. Like, let's just keep going. And then that's what has pushed us through all these years. Obviously, like after we raised our seed round in 2015 and also Series A in 2016, we kind of fell into this Series A trap where you feel that pressure of like hiring a lot of people at the same time to just meet the expectations of the investors. Like, you want to grow as quickly as possible, and you feel like you need to, like, otherwise, like there's no other way to build a company. But then we kind of missed out with like actually looking into ourselves as founders, like looked into what kind of people do we actually want to hire, what kind of values do we need to live by with this in this company, what's the mission, what's the vision. Like, there were so many things that we didn't figure out in the early days that created a lot of like challenges. Unexpected challenges that I don't think like entrepreneurs that have done it multiple times will run into. But it taught us a lot. And I think these tougher times like really taught us that like we can go through anything, and we're always there for each other with Marco. And now it's a bigger team. We have a big ELT team. Our entire company is 170 employees in more than 26 countries around the world. We're fully distributed. Yeah. So it's quite wonderful that we are fully led by the values and the vision for the company, which is like, we really want to fuel more amazing, more human possibilities through network testing, which is the service and product that we offer.
That's great. So you're mentioning there that like the Series A trap, is that kind of what you're referring to, the fact that kind of lose your way in terms of what you're trying to achieve as an entrepreneur?
Yeah,
is that kind of what you have in mind there?
Yeah, like we were not like actually clear like what kind of like what's the experience that we're going to offer for the testers, or what's the experience that we're offering for the customers. Like, we just had like the entire market is so huge, so at first you just need to kind of focus and yeah, that's all that matters. But yeah, our investor was the one who was writing about the Series A trap that a lot of companies fall into. Okay. Like you just have these high expectations all of a sudden, and you feel like you need to hire fast in order to keep up with the growth and the expectations of the investors. But eventually, like, yeah, you have to have some ground foundation in place if you want to build a great company that is there for like decades. And for us forever. At Testlio today, it's all about building the best testing company in the world, and we're not gonna like stop until we've achieved that. Oh, and I've been in the company for 9 years. I founded the company 9 years ago, and I am still feeling like this is just the beginning. Like within this past year, we kind of what's the word that I want to use? We made it like very clear what types of like products we offer for our customers. There was a messaging that became very clear. So we came up with the concept of like, hey, we're constantly like battling, like, are we like are we like crowdsource testing company? Are we outsourcing? Like, what kind of service are we offering for the customers? And then we realized that Testlio has had so many different, like the reasons why we started with Testlio was because we had a lot of problems and we were fixing them. And now this is a concept called network testing. And this is a combination of different, like the best of the best from outsource testing, in-house testing, crowdsource testing. And so network testing is like an evolution of the software testing industry. And this is where the entire market is moving towards to.
Or is being driven to. So
yeah.
So you're well, if we talk about that, so I actually went back in time, looked at some of the previous version or the first versions of Testlio. So what were some of the major milestones that help you drive towards that vision, and where you're hoping to take the company later on?
Whew. Well, that's a big question, but what I can say to you is that like what made us make these decisions. Like for me, it's always been about like creating a platform for the testers where they feel valued, and that's why the entire company started. And I've just wanted to become the best out there, like offering the best options, best solutions for the testers. And yeah, I don't know how to actually answer that question. I'm sorry.
But I mean, like, what are the key learnings, like things that you've learned along the way about the ecosystem or the market or anything like that, that you went like, okay, so this means that we should probably be doing this? Because it seems like there's been a lot of different refinements, improvements, evolution from mobile app testing or the first versions of the product, the platform, all the way to network testing and where you guys are going.
Yeah, so I think the best way for me to explain it, the simplest way is through the journeys that we have been with our customers. Like when we started out, like we were serving a lot of smaller types of customers. And then eventually we started getting enterprise customers being interested in Testlio. And that has given us like focus on the types of customers that we can serve, and we can serve the best, because we can't do everything at the same time. We have to be able to focus on certain areas. So we've become really big at serving B2B customers, media companies. Like I think we soon will have every media company on the planet.
That's great.
But it's really like finding that focus. And also I think like we were lucky that we were able to hire people that had like some background in working with media customers. So that's where like the road of Testlio took us, that, hey, we want to like serve a lot of like, or sorry, not serve, but solve a lot of their problems.
Okay.
So
okay.
I hope you get what I mean.
Yeah.
It's really all about nailing, like just focusing, like focus, and listening to your customer. Especially like if you're in a market like software testing, where you have automation tools on the market, you have outsourced testing companies on the market, you have in-house QA, like there's so many options, and but for customers, all that matters is that they want to deliver amazing experiences for their customers, right? Like they want to make sure that their app works on every device, in any language, in every location. So how are we going to do that? And that's where Testlio comes in and helps these customers solve these issues. Like, and we work in collaboration with automated testing providers, automation tools. We are integrating ourselves more into different project management tools to give more insights into how customers can really deliver that excellent quality. So yeah.
So it's that focus that you're talking about.
Yeah, it is that focus.
So,
but we all had to start, from somewhere, right? Like at first it was, at first was really about, like we felt that we need to do everything at the same time. We have to build automation tools. We have to do manual QA, like where like we'd have to do functional testing, or are we going to focus on regression testing only? Like there were so many questions that we had in mind, but the end goal for the customer has always been to get great quality, right?
Okay.
And so we just had to listen to this feedback.
So you had experienced the pains and done a lot of work as a QA tester before starting Testlio. So what do you feel are the key advantages of having had those experiences beforehand as a founder?
I think it benefited me a lot while building this company, because I could really understand the mind of the tester. And for us, I think like building a great experience for the tester has helped us win on the long run, because we want to take the best care of the people, the network of testers that we have. And we know that if we treat them the right way and we help them to collaborate, then the best solutions will happen on the market. And so I think that's the real benefit of me like being in this industry and like seeing the exact problems, what were happening, and just I could really talk to the customer and understand that, like, I get it, like I understand like why you were frustrated using this different crowd testing platform, but hey, I've been a tester, I've been in these shoes, and that made me like customers really trusted me, I think, as well, because of the experience that I had as a tester.
So initial trust. Okay. But
Exactly.
So could you have seen yourself launching a business in a field that you didn't know as well as testing? Like, could you have launched another type of business?
I haven't thought about it this way, to be honest.
Okay.
Like, testing is my life, and I think Testlio will be my life's work. And so I haven't really thought about other kind of ideas, but what I can say is that like, thanks to Testlio, we've been able to, like, I've been able to stand for women in technology, women in testing, and I think that's also like a big kind of focus for me while building Testlio, and it's not just only testing related, right?
No, that's great. So was able to use that as a platform to be able to impact change. It's great. So are there how would you advise a new entrepreneur to think about business opportunities? Like, should she or he look for when they're starting out?
I think it's very important for any entrepreneur to build a network and have like friends around them, that because entrepreneurship is tough, it's challenging. So it's important that you have the support and advice from people. Like, when we started with Testlio in the early days, I immediately like reached out to the founder of Pipedrive. Pipedrive is another Estonian success story.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And they sold to Vista Equity 2 years ago. And I reached out to the founder of Pipedrive when we went to Estonia after winning Angel Hack. And I just knew that in order for us to become better at what we do, we need to talk to other people. So building a network is crucial, I think, for the success of any company. So yeah.
Maybe as a follow-up question on that, like, do you feel that that's one of the big reasons why the Estonian ecosystem is so successful in terms of startups?
There are multiple reasons for that, but I think the main reason is definitely that Estonia is so tiny that we pretty much don't have a market here. So from day one, when we start out as entrepreneurs, we have to think big and we have to think global, and we have to like go out of our comfort zone. We have to speak English as our main language if we want to like succeed in the world of competition, right? So I think it comes from the fact that we are just like we have to think globally from day one. And then obviously Estonian companies or Estonian startup ecosystem is very close, and a lot of companies support each other. And today, thanks to a lot of success stories, like there are a lot of investors that now support each other, and we're glad that Testlio just raised, like we announced our funding a couple of months ago. We raised 12 million in funding, of which a bit less than 25% went to our employees that had been with Testlio for more than 3 years. So that's also a great thing for the ecosystem in general. And yeah, that's awesome.
That's great. It's good to see you use your platform to help different ventures. So maybe we can finish on that. So where can people go to learn more about Testlio, your work, the various initiatives you're involved in?
Yeah. So first of all, testlio.com, where they can learn more about what we do, how we do it. And then you can also contact me on social media channels like either LinkedIn or Instagram. And yeah, I'm always eager to help starting entrepreneurs, because I've been there, and and I just really want to help and help people make the world a better place.
That's great. Thanks for taking the time. It's really appreciated.
Thank you.